Ready. Play.
Carlos Alcaraz against Francisco Cerundolo. A 1-0 head-to-head they have. Their only meeting coming on.
No. There's a second.
Yes. In fact, when I saw this on the webpage. I was like, okay, David's going to love this because they've got it on the page mentioning the qualifying challenger and future matches, albeit they don't put it in the head-to-head. But of course, according to the Damien Index, it is indeed a 1-1 head-to-head, right?
Yeah, I mean, in this case,
This is
obviously,
juniors, right?
this isn't a junior match. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, juniors, I am okay with not counting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's nice to like mention them as a footnote somewhere. I don't know, Felix and Steph, for example, recently, right? That was the final in Dubai. And there's like a 3-0 head-to-head for Australia team there in the juniors. Like, yeah, mention that as a bit of a tidbit. But no,
Yeah.
I mean, this though was an actual professional tennis match. Nonetheless, it's not too relevant in regards to today's clash.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think so. I think just for the audience to sort of be clear on this, you've obviously got the Challenger Tour and the main tour itself. And there's a we've got a tournament going on in Phoenix this week with a lot of players that have gone out early in Indian Wells, jumping over to that tournament in Phoenix and having competitive matches. There is a chance that there'll be 2 or 3, let's say 2 main tour players that have a 2-0 head-to-head. They play each other 3 times on the Challenger Tour this year. The person who's 2-0 down in the head-to-head wins all 3 of those. And yet the casual observer looks at the head-to-head. In fact, just before the match begins, if they play then for a 6th time in 2026, keep up at the back, we just see 2-0 head-to-head, even though the last 3 matches all went one. I'm exaggerating to make my point because this is
but there are actually head-to-heads like this. Yeah, absolutely. Recent, I think, was maybe Munar Seibovild, for example. I'm sure there are better examples, but players who have like met once on the main tour and like 3 times in challengers or ATP qualifying recently.
Right.
And I mean, if you ask,
of course, yeah.
You can imagine, like, if you ask that player, they're not going to be thinking, oh, I beat him twice in ATP Tour events, so obviously I'm dominating him. No, they'll just be thinking about all their matches against each other.
Indeed. Okay, their most recent encounter, anyway, that's 100% true, is, I don't think you can have anything else. It's either true or it's not. You can't have 75% true. Anyway, you know what I mean. Carlos Alcaraz winning that one at Queen's. I heard Alcaraz say after his incredibly dominant win over Dimitrov, which surprised me a little bit in terms of the margin between the 2 players. But anyway, he said afterwards about Cerundolo, all-court player. Cerundolo grass.
He's got a title on grass.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
and I do think Indian Wells is pretty good for Cerundolo.
You remember the Nadal match as well, I'm sure, at Wimbledon.
Oh, of course, yeah, 4 sets, yeah, and he had him on the ropes. Yeah, good point. And I do think maybe Indian Wells. I remember last year Cerundolo coming into Indian Wells with a wretched record, having a a disappointing time in Buenos Aires, in particular his home tournament, and just going into that tournament in Indian Wells on a real low. Maybe he was on a losing streak of some sort as well. I'm not sure. And then he turned it around in terms of. I watched him play 2 or 3 matches in Indian Wells last year. I think he won a couple. And I saw him play, and I was like, wow, this is a different player. So he clearly seems to like the environment there. And maybe I underestimated him in that match against de Minaur because he won in straight sets. I guess maybe you were less surprised by his win over de Minaur.
Yeah, I did kind of like, as you know, I don't call stuff. I don't like go for predictions or whatever.
I tried to eke it out of you.
Yeah, but I did write an article for a Polish website that was basically like a betting preview, in favor of Cerundolo coming close there. Mostly based on their Australian Open match and how he was able to get Alex into like this horrible, 90 unforced errors for France, 60 for de Minaur type of match on a quick court. And like on something like Indian Wells, how is de Minaur going to like generate the power in his strokes to actually defeat him? It's kind of like a clay court in this matchup, which is amazing for Fran. And yeah, I do think he used it perfectly well. Sure, again, the unforced error counts for both were just insane. But I mean, that's exactly what he needed to do really on the day. And yeah, Alex still, of course, struggles to kind of hit through super slow conditions like this, even if his defensive game is so strong.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I just don't think it gives Fran any chance here. But you have to note that his form has been really nice. I mean, he lost in the opening match of the season in Auckland, but since that's 5 events in a row where he's winning at least 2 matches. Like that's consistency we have not really seen from Fran Cerundolo. And that's great. But he's done here. I mean, Alcaraz looks nothing short of unstoppable.
Yeah. By the way, I'm now getting memories of a chat we had in Porto last year, which I think we put on air about you predicting Cerundolo to be a top 10 player at some point in his career.
Oh, we did something like that. I
Something.
don't remember the exact specifics of it, but I know I often bring him up as like a player who, if everything goes right for a couple of weeks, he could win Roland Garros. Like that's
Oh
that's
yeah,
kind
right.
of
That was it. That was
like an
it. Yeah.
outside guy, the way that Fabio Fognini was one for years. Where people
Yeah.
would say that, and eventually Fognini won an ATP 1000. He then never really came close to a slam, but that sort of thing. Where like if you're looking at outside guys to win a big event, to just like fire up for a fortnight and do
I,
something incredible, maybe.
I would certainly be on board if you gave me better than 50-50 chance. I would offer a better than 50-50 chance of him winning a 1000 at some point in his career.
I like it, yeah. Indian Wells could be a very good spot, right? I mean, Miami,
If
he's had runs as well. Clay, he should be fine on. Yeah, ATP 1000 champion, why not? I mean, Popyrin did it last year. I think
Popperin
Fran is
did it,
much, much better.
Carreño
So, yeah.
Busta's done it, so and
Mm,
and, and and I know Carreño Busta's good, yeah, but so is Popperin, I mean, there's a lot of players that probably, you know, just in terms of talent and everything else, and putting it all together, probably have a little bit less than Francisco, and
yeah.
Francisco's yet to win a
I mean,
1000.
they just need, the stars to align and kind of
Yeah,
like the top guys to either falter or for the top guys to be beatable. And well, Fran usually makes them beatable. He's 13-13 against the top 10.
is he? And in fact, Fran also, yes, I was just about to say, which before I knew that record, Fran probably only needs 2 guys to sort of be out of his way. One of them is out of his way in terms of the suspension that Yannick Sinner has. And the other one, of course, it depends on the event, but in terms of Indian Wells, anyway, he doesn't need Carlos Alcaraz on the other side of the net. Alcaraz's performance against Dimitrov, I've already touched on it, was sensational. He does seem to grow. I've heard the comment from Zverev a few years ago about Nadal's ball at Roland Garros. Well, I don't know if it's the same for Carlos Alcaraz. Maybe it's just in terms of height that Carlos, only bees seem to be able to deter Carlos Alcaraz in Indian Wells. Glad we got that little thing ticked so we can check that off. Yeah, he's just playing phenomenally. I was just looking at his path to the quarterfinals, and him and Iga do seem to be intrinsically linked. Now, I know he's had a few more troubles than Iga in terms of making the quarterfinals here, but losing just 6, 12, 14 games on the route to the quarterfinals is not bad when his opponents have been Quinton Hallis, Denis Shapovalov, and Grigor Dimitrov. Dimitrov, of course, winning their last 2 matches. I know the conditions are different. And of course, we had a lot of a wild wind during that match. In fact, there was one funny moment with a skewed, very high shank from Alcaraz that we had no idea kind of where it was going, but it did appear as though the wind assisted it to land back in. And then Dimitrov just tapped it back over to the side of the net, and they both had a giggle. In fact, they were both laughing from the first point onwards because it was a funny and fun first point. And doesn't matter who Alcaraz seems to play. He can make tennis matches very interesting, or at least fun, I should say. Not interesting, fun.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I think the Świątek and Alcaraz campaigns so far have been comparable. Obviously, you're not going to lose 6 games in
Careers,
3 matches in men's tennis.
careers.
Like,
You should you should do a show. I think you and Van
yeah,
should be good at that.
I
Maybe
think I think we might try. Yeah,
I would call it the Alcaraz and Swiatek show. What do you reckon?
more or less. Yeah, tennis show maybe. And then I
Okay.
don't know. We'll see if it's first names or last names.
All
But
right.
yeah, I think it's very comparable. 14 games to 6 games, but you're not gonna lose 6 games in men's tennis. Like it's just impossible in terms of returning. But especially playing Alice Shapovalov. But yeah, I do think that this is just the same kind of domination thus far. And of course, a lot was said before the event about the conditions potentially changing, about the new courts. Doesn't seem like they're that much different. And both these players have just been killing it in Indian Wells. Really, for years now. Alcaraz, I guess, had one loss to Murray back in the day, but since then, yeah, basically not losing here at all.
Yeah, not lost since the Nadal semi-final
Yeah,
in 2022. So I guess he lost to Murray in 21, did he?
exactly. And since he's unbeaten, so he's like 19-2, I think, and must be something very similar for Iga. I think she's 19-1 in her last 20 Indian Wells matches.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I think both of us are therefore suggesting a pretty comfortable win for Alcaraz. Maybe Cerundolo could take more games than anyone else has taken. So the bar there is 6. So he's got to get to sort of 6-3, 6-4 sort of territory, which I'm not suggesting Fran would be taking that now, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.